let's take a look at how we can enhance the look of our model just by using a specular map. So if we take a look at this, we've got the normal information in here, we've got the color information in, and you can see that we've got some specularity on these materials, but right now it's kind of specular the same all the way across the different pieces. Well, if we don't like the specularity, for instance, on this shaft, it's a little bit too shiny here, we can do is, change the specularity as a whole. We dial this down a little bit so it's, a little bit shiny, but not as much. But that changes everything, the specularity across the whole object. One of the things that we can do is try to take, for instance, this piece here, which is kind of specular across the whole piece, and into the specular color, we could try to use a map. Now, one thing we might want to try first is just to use the color map that we have here, because we've got some light areas on top that probably will be shiny, and then the darker areas are going to be the crevices in the most cases. So this may actually work for us. So let's go ahead, go into specular color, and under File, we'll go ahead and add our color map for the handle. Okay, and the effect is subtle, but you can see that it's not specular over the whole area. It's actually being now driven by that map. And we could go in and play with these settings still, but the color that it uses is going to be coming from the map that we have. So that helps a little bit. Well, let's say that we want to have a specular map that's not really driven by the color, but something that we can actually paint ourselves. So how can we do this? Let's go into ZBrush and take a look. So here we've got the hammer head, and I've got the frame on because what I've done is filled it with black. Okay, you can also come into, if you want to be able to see it a little bit better, we could go ahead and make our background white or something lighter. Okay, so we can see it a little bit better. But now what we want to do is paint white and gray where we want it to be a little bit more specular. So white will be completely specular, and then gray will be, gradations between, and black will have no specularity. So what we want to do is come in and decide where we want to put this. So I've got a color spray with white and an alpha. Let's go ahead and dial our RGB intensity down, turn Z add off, and then we could just come in here and maybe on the sides of this start to add a little bit of specularity here. Okay, maybe on the skeleton, the skull there, maybe that's a little bit shinier. Come here on the sides, just kind of paint in a little bit of specularity real roughly. Okay, maybe on the front where this has been hammered really smooth, this is going to be a lot shinier. Okay, so we could come in here and get something that's really bright like that. Okay, and just come in and streak some across here, and you don't have to be very exact at all, just kind of roughly drop that in. Just a little bit of specularity. You could play with your brush size a little bit and getting different effects. Make that guy a little bit more specular there, maybe down here. Okay, just kind of paint that in. And I'll just be really quick about it on some of these other pieces here, just so you get the idea. Okay, so any of these areas we're painting white are going to be the more specular areas. Okay, if we want to go ahead and take off the color spray and just use our drag rectangle, we can come in here with our white and the alpha, and just where we've got those, it's been pounded on, we can make that really specular, add some of the scratching in there if we want to do that here on the head of the hammer here. Just come in and work on that, maybe add some along the where the scratches are, make that a little bit lighter. Okay, where some of these scratches are, maybe that indicates where it's a little bit shinier, where that metal's been scratched away. Okay, come in here, do the same thing over here, just kind of create those streaks. And so this is, we're not really painting a color, we're just thinking about where we want this to be shiny, basically. Okay, how we where we want the specularity to be on this map. Okay, so we still have got still not that specular in here, so I'm going to go ahead and just add a little bit more, really kind of brighten it up in the interior here. Okay, really kind of get some nice shiny areas so that we can really see what we're doing when we get that dropped back into Maya. So I'll just drop this in, make it a little bit shinier, really come in and shine that up a little bit. Alright, so something like that is what we want to do. So now all we have to do is convert this to a texture. So let's go ahead and go to texture, and we'll say color to texture. Okay, go to texture and flip that in the V, and then we'll go ahead and export that. And we'll choose to go to textures, and we can call this hammerhead spec. Go ahead and save that out. Okay, now let's go back into Maya, select our object and its material, and then we'll pipe into the specular color the new map that we just created. So go ahead and turn the filter off, and let's choose to add the hammerhead spec. Okay, now if we take a look at this, remember, let's go ahead and remember what this looks like actually. Go ahead and take a snapshot of this in your mind. Just kind of remember the shininess that's on there right now. If we go ahead and now map this with the image that we have, okay, you can see now as we rotate around this, and you can play with some of the values here, make this really shiny. You can see that as we turn around, you can see how that specularity is isolated to those areas that we painted. So it just adds a little bit of realism to this. It's not shiny all over, it's only shiny where we've painted those details. Okay, so it's kind of looks like it's been rubbed off a little bit here. Maybe this has got a little bit of dirt on it. It's not as shiny. But right here it's really shiny where this has been pounded on. And so I think that specular map really adds a lot to our model. So there we go. Just in about an hour we've been able to take create some low-res geometry, take that into ZBrush detail and paint that, and get a nice finished Warhammer here.